right now, we have a very special opportunity. We're going to get to meet some Emet students, alumni, and really friends of Emet. And I want to introduce, to my right is going to be Yaniv Kaikov, and to my left is going to be Boris Musheyev. So, Yaniv, I want to ask you a question. How did you get to Emet? How did you hear about Emet? And what attracted you to Emet?
Well, for starters, thank you very much for having me here. It's a pleasure being here. Being questioned by the rabbi.
Grilled.
Well, for starters, I've known Emet for so many years, since it started 15, 16 years ago in Bet Gavriel. And the start of it was so phenomenal that I was really connected to it somehow. But when the first retreat happened, this was 6 or 7 years ago.
Yeah, I remember it was January 1st, 2000 something.
My wife and I just wanted to get away, and we came to the retreat, and I saw things that I've never seen in so many years. I mean, it's not an organization. Emet, first of all, it's not an organization. It's a family. It's a family connection that you just have to be a part of. And what I saw with the staff members and the rabbis, how they connect to the alumni, to the students, it was just, for me, it was wow. And I said to myself, and I said to my wife, we have to be a part of this. This is just amazing. And just, it grew on me, and I grew on Emet, and it was just some sort of a connection that you had to be with. It attracts a person from many aspects.
All right. Okay, amazing. So that's how you just came randomly to the retreat, and then like everyone else basically at Emet, you were hooked. We start off with the food, and then we get the person.
It was always some sort of a way to connect, but that wasn't it.
So I want to ask you, when you think of the Queens community, imagine the Queens community without Emet. What would that look like?
Community. Emet is a lost community. First of all, for starters, Emet brought out, for so many years, it brought out Judaism to the right route for the Baharian community. It's just without Emet, I think we've been losing so many family members, Baharians that got lost in many colleges and many schools or whatnot. But Emet's doing a phenomenal job, and the staff members obviously are connected to the students, connected to the families, connected to each and every Baharian community out there, in whether it's in Arizona, whether it's in Miami, whether it's in Queens, or wherever it is. It's just a beautiful connection that you can't miss.
Right.
It's just
so beautiful. I'm so happy it makes us feel good as a staff that you're able to pick up on all this. Really, in a little bit, it's just coming in from the outside and seeing right away what the inside is. So now we're going to talk with Boris Musheyev, he went through the ranks. Like, this is the way we dream for every Emet student to really go through. So Boris, if you can go back to Bet Gavriel 12 years ago or so, when we were doing those fellowships, you were probably, how old were you, 19, 20? Go ahead. Take us back there. What was that like, if you remember, when you were a college student thinking about being an accountant?
So a little correction there. I actually joined Emet when I was 24, just when I finished college.
24, okay. You looked young.
22. And then, so the way it happened is that when I graduated Baruch College, and I started working in the city, and I was like, man, I'm completely disconnected from the Jewish community. And, I don't really have many Jewish friends, and I know there's like Shabbatons or programs, but I don't know nothing. Emet was, I think, one of the very first programs that was kind of doing these Shabbatons. And then, of course, I heard of Emet doing this free trip to Israel. But even if you went to birthright, you get to go again. So I kind of, inquired about it and left it alone. And then Sarah B. would I think she would text me or send me messages for like 6 to 8 months or something until I finally sign up. So, so when I signed up, and when I signed up, it was a 10-week program, it was 2 Shabbatons. The first Shabbaton I had to miss, But the second Shabbaton is, I would say, where I really saw what an unbelievable thing that Emmett is doing and how it brought me to it, is that it was the Shabbat at Rabbi Klatzko, and I've never seen a Shabbat like that. I've never seen that Shabbat can be spent like that, with so much happiness, with so much partying, right? There was just a lot of dancing, and there's always singing, and there was just so much happiness. And then that's where I had my aha moment about it. And then and I would say from there, it was just history. Just that first Emet Shabbaton just really changed my life.
And did anything else happen on that Shabbaton?
Well, I met my wife.
Right there. And you never saw her before?
I've never seen her before, and it was just this was her already. She was already part of Emet, and she was going on Shabbatons with Emet. And this was my first one. I know nobody in that Shabbaton. Rabbi Klatzko's house is full, and it's just me and a couple of friends. And there we are. There's barely any seats for anybody. There are barely any seats for anybody. And then what happens is that just 2 seats are empty in front of me. And everywhere is packed, and those 2 seats are empty. And I'm wondering, why these 2 seats are empty? And all of a sudden, the next thing I know, my wife and her friend sit across me. And then the rest is history as well.
Wow. That is really amazing. Baruch Hashem. And then how much would you say Emet impacted your Judaism, your relationship with Hashem?
It has impacted a lot, and it continues to impact on a continuous basis. I started with Emet about 10 years ago, about 10, 11 years ago, as a student who just came on their first Shabbaton, did their 10 semesters of completing the fellowship. And, what was amazing to me is that, what's amazing is really that I'm growing with Emet, because ever since then, Emet has been educating college students, but at the same time, now all these college students are growing up and getting married. And then Emet said, you know what, we're not going to stop there. We're not just going to stop at our, continuing doing just fellowship. We're also going to continue the couples and the students that got married, and then, bring Judaism into their life. And ever since then, Emet is still part of our life. We're still part of Emet, still call Emet Rabbanim for any questions that we have. I always call, Rabbi Yochanan is my rabbi from Emet. Always call him with questions. My wife and I, we always have a support from Emet, and we're always going to their Shabbatons that they have, lectures that they have, classes that they have for couples, and they just continue and giving that to us, and nonstop giving, and that has not only changed our life, but also I would say improved our life as well.
Right. That is so beautiful. And that's, by the way, the reason why we're growing with you is because we don't have a choice. Like, we can't abandon the students. It's like, okay, great, you're 25, see you later. We can't do that because, like Yaniv said, we're family. That's like Rabbi Rubenberg would say, that would be like saying goodbye to your kid. You don't say goodbye to your kid. We're together. So Baruch Hashem, this, one of the main reasons why we're doing this campaign is like for this whole extra part of our expansion project, which is necessary for our growing students. We have, Rabbi Musheyev always says that we have about, on average, before Corona anyway, we have an average of 1 couple getting married a week. And so after 12 years, imagine, that's a lot of couples, Baruch Hashem. I'm going to switch it back to Yaniv for a moment. Yaniv, I have a point. You have to use that microphone? Okay, no problem. You can share, as long as you're social distancing. So, here, let me just do this. Okay, perfect. So I wanted to ask you, Yaniv, most people don't, most of our students, they don't get to know Rabbi Rubenberg, our CEO, so well. I know you guys have a very special relationship, and he's very humble, loves to be in the background. He's not even here tonight. So I wanted to ask you, if you can describe him in a word or two, what would you say? How would you describe the Emet CEO in a word or two?
In a word or two?
Yeah, or maybe 5, whatever. In a few sentences.
I have a word or two.
Yeah.
L'shem Shamayim.
L'shem Shamayim.
Him, and all the rabbis and all the staff members of Emet is all L'shem Shamayim. That's how I even got connected to Emet. It's not it's an organization. It's the family that is connected to one another. And what I saw the first dinner that I was years ago, and the first retreat, it was all L'shem Shamayim. it was selflessness, and it was all giving to the alumni, to the students, to the family members, to the community. And that's what I saw, and that's how I got connected to Rabbi Rutenberg and Rabbi Kraft.
And is that probably a main reason why you're choosing to be a partner with them at the L'Shem Shemayim?
Absolutely.
Right.
That's the first thing I see. That's the first thing I see.
You know, I'm just thinking, just being part of the staff, and say, I agree with you, obviously, but you can't try to be L'Shem Shemayim. It's just like you are or you aren't.
Yeah, exactly. You can't try.
Right, so
it is or it's not.
Right,
exactly.
Right. It's like I'm so humble. Like, you just can't do it. So Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of siyata d'shemaya. That's really amazing. Okay, before I take it away from you, I have a very interesting question for Boris. Okay, now Boris, not only did he come to Emet, get connected through Emet Jewishly, meet his wife, keep on growing, but then, and this is like where it really gets good, he got his younger siblings involved. Now, I don't have any siblings, so I have a very curious question for you. I assume you're the oldest. How are you able to influence both your sister and your brother to come to Emet and just experience what they did and grow with us as well?
So I follow the example of Emet, which is they were an example to me in a way that you learn from the actions. So when I joined Emet, and I just saw how everybody's calm and welcoming, and how learning Torah and bringing it into your life can be nice and calm and beautiful. And it's just that just learning from the example of the rabbis that I was around from Emet, I was able, I think, influence my brother and my sister simply not just words but really with actions. There was not much talking there. It was just them seeing me, what I'm doing, and how I am part of a bigger cause, and that I think that what kind of drew them more near to it, and they saw what a beautiful thing it is.
So you led by example. Right.
Correct.
Beautiful. Okay, we're sharing mics. We're gonna give Yaniv the mic back. We have Yaniv. First, I'm going to ask you a slightly personal question, and then I'm going to ask you a general Emet question. So here's my getting grilled by the rabbis, not easy. So I hope it doesn't remind you of high school. Okay. So my question is like this. When you mentioned you come to our retreats, Baruch Hashem, I think you're there every year. I hope to be there every year too. It's a beautiful, at the Deal Ocean Place Resort, right on the ocean. Every Thanksgiving weekend, we get to pray overlooking at the ocean. Everyone, as long as you're a couple, you're welcome. We can fit 1,000 people there. We actually have, last time I think we had a kid. I was always curious.
Well, yes, since I was bar mitzvah. Well, before that, actually, I was reading the small little portions, Musafim, when I was a kid, and it grew on me, and I loved it. And from there, it was history. When I was 15, I started teaching bar mitzvah lessons for public school kids.
Just when you were 15?
Yes.
Wow.
And because the fathers or the whatever it was, the rabbis heard me in the shul in the synagogue, and they wanted me to prepare their son or grandson, whatever it was, for bar mitzvah lessons. And you know what? It wasn't about the money. It was just something that I really liked doing and giving over to younger boys to learn how to read the Torah.
All right, beautiful. It's just this whole conversation, something's popping up to me. It's like when you love something, then it's Shem Shemayim. Yes. Then that's when it's the Shem Shemayim. And I feel like that's how the Emet staff feels. They feel like bringing people close to Hashem, introducing people to the Torah, and even when they're connecting, they're already connected. Connecting them more is connecting with Shalom Bayis and to their spouses and to their family. If you do that with love, I think it has to be L'Shem Shemayim. So I'm going to ask you one last question before we pass it over to Boris, who's going to have the final say. Even though you joined us not as a student, you really joined us as a participant and became a partner and really, are so involved in planning many of the things that we do. What is one thing that you learned from Emet, from the Emet staff, from the Emet rabbis? What would you say is one of your takeaways?
There's many things, but the one thing that really, really opened my eyes, as you can say, was giving your own time and effort for the community that they really need. It's something that you forget about yourself, you forget about your family, your own self and family, and you're giving over your time, your valuable time to community, so that the community shouldn't forget about Judaism, and it's very important in our community. Baruch Hashem, that's what I saw from all the staff members here in Emet. Well, for starters, you can see it, Emet. The word Emet, it just connects you.
Right.
So that's the drive I got from all the staff members and all the rabbis and all the alumni and all the students. Everybody's just amazing here in Emet.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, that's very inspirational. Thank you. Thank you very much, Yaniv. Okay, Boris, I want to ask you one last question. So, what would you say? We just finished off our spring semester. We did not expect the spring semester to end off the way it did. We started off in Beit Gavril with a bang. We had 75, 80 people there. 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, then Corona hit. We quickly adjusted, started doing everything on Zoom. First week on Zoom, we have 70 people. Everyone came back. And it was like, in a way, it was a little bit, it wasn't the same, but it was social. Everyone sort of saw each other on their screens. We had interaction. It wasn't the same, but it was something. It was a connection. And we're hoping, and we know, Bezrat Hashem, that we're going back next semester. Things are starting to open up already. The people are going to go back to school, go back to shul. We're very excited for it. Maybe some social distancing, but hopefully as September rolls around, as Rosh Hashanah rolls around, things will be back to normal. What advice would you give to a young college student, male or female, just starting off for that first 10 weeks at the Emet Fellowship, 10 weeks and 2 Shabbatons, and that free trip either Israel or Poland?
The new student that's starting?
Yeah, well, what advice would you give to a new student that's starting?
That they're in for a ride.
All right.
So it is going to be that by joining Emet and their the first 10 semesters and the 2 Shabbatons, it is completely going to change their life for the better. I don't think I've been with Emet for over 10 years. I don't think I've ever met a student that life has been changed for the worse after joining Emet. Everybody's life is changing for the better. They meet new friends, good friends, the right friends. They make great family members. They're going to make friends with the rabbis. They're probably going to stay with them friends forever. I personally started learning in my first semester with Rabbi Yehuda Weiss, who is in Arizona right now, also part of Emet.
You've kept him at Emet.
Yes, and I'm still learning with him on Zoom once a week because he's part of my family. He had a huge impact on my family. And any Emet student that is just joining, their life is just not going to be the same. They're going to have an extra family member in their family that will only change their life for the better, for the positive, and for the best.